It's Absolutely Auburn, a place where we'll talk about all things Auburn, Maine, because we're in the middle of it all. The City of Auburn's communications team is dedicated to helping you connect with city government and learn everything you need to know about Auburn, our city, our people, our events, and our community. Welcome to Absolutely Auburn.
On this episode of Absolutely Auburn, we are hearing from City Council student representatives Anaya and Mubarik. They're both students at Edward Little High School and serving their community. Learn more about their experience. Welcome back to Absolutely Auburn. I'm your host, Jenn Boenig, and joining me in the studio today are two very special guests. We have the City Council student representatives, Anaya, Egge, and Mubarik, Abdulahi. Did I get that right, Mubarik? Probably not. See, I knew I was going to get it wrong. Anaya and Mubarik are both students at Edward Little High School, and as student representatives, they share information with the council on school activities as well as participate in city council meeting discussions. So let's start with what year of school you're in and how long you've been serving as a student representative on the city council. Anaya, we'll start with you first.
I'm a senior, so my last year of high school, and I've been on the city council as a student representative since I think maybe May of last year is right when I think they sent out requests for applications. I believe my timing might be a little bit off, but
I think you're right.
Last year, I
think that's what it says on our website when I was looking up for contact information to get a hold of you guys. I think that's what it said on there. And Mubarik, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm a junior in high school, and I've been serving here for, I think this year. So I just started this year. They pledged me in this year, and it's going pretty good so far. I enjoy it.
Good. So how did you learn about this opportunity to serve your community, and why were you interested in doing it? And Mubarik, I'll start with you first this time.
So I remember I was on my computer just playing games, and my mom, she called me in, and she said, I have this thing for you. So I said, what is it? And she told me it's the student council thing. So I said, okay, what is it about? She's like, oh, you get to go there. You get to talk about like stuff about Auburn, like put your input in. So I said, okay, sure, I'll do that. And then I've been doing it, as I said, like since this year. And like it's been going good so far. I really enjoy it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So there was like an application process then? Did you have to apply?
Yeah, it's like I think it was an email that went out.
Mm-hmm.
So we went through a whole like application process. And then I came in, I think like a few days after. So that's how I started.
Yeah, and I think, was it September that you started?
I think so, yeah.
I think. Yeah, I'll double check that. I'll make sure I put that in the show notes just for those folks who are keeping score at home. I will. I'll make sure I include that information. How about you, Anaya? I know you kind of mentioned they had put a call out back in May, so you decided to do that?
Yeah, my teacher, Mrs. Gates, she is very involved in like our student leadership board at school. So, and she knows that I kind of like I like to be involved in student government type things. So she suggested I apply and thought it would be a fun fit for me, especially because I love our community. So I feel like it was just a really cool opportunity. And yeah, I sent in, I think there were a couple like essay questions and then other basic questions just to learn about who they were letting on the board. But yeah, I'm glad I did it.
Nice. And I didn't ask you both, how long have you lived here in Auburn?
I've lived here for like 17 years. I'm 18. So we moved here when I was a little bit under 1 year old.
Okay. So like forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been living here since I was my whole life, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what has been the most interesting part of this opportunity so far? And either one of you can jump in.
I think the most interesting part about this whole like council thing was hearing about like what people have to say about Auburn. I feel like it's pretty interesting. So, like sometimes they'll talk about like how the taxes are like super high, and then sometimes it'll just be like the railways and stuff. So like in my head, like I'll be just thinking about it, like okay, maybe that could get worked on, maybe this could happen. But I just like keep it in my head because I grew up in a big family, so like I just like sit in the background, like listening more than like talking.
You're like the silent observer.
Yeah.
But you're always, you're listening and you're processing everything.
Yeah.
I like that. I can respect that. There's something, silence can be golden sometimes. Not on this podcast, but.
Yeah.
And what about you, Anaya? What's been the most interesting thing so far?
I think right after taxes got like sent out to the city of Auburn, tax bills, that was, again, I feel like as kids, we might not know the extent of how people are feeling about it. And I feel like I didn't know a lot, not enough about our government as I should. And like, so when we sit in those meetings, especially when the taxes went out, it was quite interesting to hear everything. And I learned a lot about taxes. I probably know a lot about, like, more than maybe your average.
I was going to say probably more than people who get half of the people who get the bills, because you just, you got to pay the taxes, but you don't really know what goes into all that.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear about all the different like things. Like it's not just like one person's fault kind of. So I guess that was interesting to me to learn about taxes.
I bet you didn't expect that, did you? Now, have you encountered any challenges in this role? Because I would think you're a junior Mubarik and you're a senior Anaya. I would think you've got other things going on, whether you play sports or you're in other extracurricular activities, and you would have family commitments. So how is it kind of juggling all of the different things, and what do you do when you're not in school or here at City Hall?
I do 3 sports. So I love my sports. So especially during sports season, like in our past field hockey season here, I did have to miss a couple of meetings or miss a couple of practices to come here, which can be hard. But I feel like with everything else I have, it's pretty rewarding, just because it's quite interesting to like hear from our city government, and also to get to build relationships and like saying hi to like the mayor or something. It's kind of cool. I feel like it's maybe a privilege that I definitely didn't have before. So I've appreciated the connections that it's given me, even though it can be hard at times to balance.
Yeah. What about you?
So as of now, I'm doing indoor track, and it goes from 2:30 to 5 p.m. And then the student council thing starts at 6. We have to be here. So I've been having to like pre-pack my stuff, my clothes, and then I had to like take a quick shower and then come here.
Come here.
Yeah, I don't got a lot of time, but
yeah. Well, and I was like, can I have a little something to eat before we get started? Sure. I definitely don't want you to go into the meeting, because some of these meetings too can last. The regular meeting starts at 7:00 for city council, but they can go sometimes till 9-10 o'clock at night, and you've got to get up for school the next day, and you might have, you've got a full day of classes. You may have sports that you're going to. You have families that I'm sure you have family commitments too. So that's a lot to juggle and squeeze in extra things.
I remember the first time I did the student council. How long did it go to? It was like.
Was it a long meeting?
It was like 9.
Oh, the taxes? Oh yeah, that one was like 2.5 hours. I was like, it's not always like this way.
Yeah.
That was 2 hours.
That's a hard first meeting.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like that for like the whole time.
Yeah, you were like, uh-oh. Yeah, what did I sign up for? What did my mother sign me up for now?
Yeah. I think my first one was only about 30 minutes. So it was in the middle of the summer and
quicker.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it was just
quicker meeting, quicker agenda,
less prominent issues.
Well, fingers crossed that the council meeting tonight is not too late for you. If other students were to ask you for advice on serving as a representative to city council, what would you say to them?
I'd definitely say, like, sometimes you feel like you don't know what to say, but like it's definitely good to like just give a good input. Because I remember my first time, the mayor asked me, like, do you have anything to say? Because we had the student, what's it called?
Oh, when you like report out to council?
Blurb at the end.
The student reports. I know what to say, so I was like, thank you, and then kind of blanked out. So sometimes I'll try to like pre-prepare notes.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like definitely doing that could help.
Great suggestion.
I agree. I've definitely I've had some cool things. And even, like, I think I had, one of the things I said, I got, like, a link for, like, mental health advocates on the Auburn website. So I think the biggest thing is, like, put yourself out there. And also that's probably something I could definitely be better about, is when I have questions during a meeting, feeling like it's okay to ask questions. Because in the end, like, you're here to learn from our, like, government, even when it's scary, which I should take some of my own advice there. But yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's face it, that room and, you know, being in there, it's a little intimidating, right?
Yeah.
With the dais and the gavel and everyone sitting there and they're all looking at you. I don't know how you wouldn't be intimidated. Heck, I'm intimidated when I have to go and report out to council on certain things. Because it's a little intimidating. And then especially if the public is there and they ask questions too. And sometimes people have questions. You're like, oh, wow, I didn't even think of it that way. So it's definitely interesting to get some of those different perspectives. But yeah, speak up, because we definitely want to hear a younger person's perspective with some of this. And I know the council really wants to see all people represented through the conversations, because that's the best way that government, I think, can work, is if you get representation for everyone. I'll get off my soapbox now. So it can be a challenge to get young people involved in local and state government. And we just had an election season, and we won't go there. Do you think it's important for young people to be involved in the process? And what are some ways that we could encourage more input from young people in our community?
I definitely think it's important, because I'm sure, as everyone has heard, that, like, the younger age is kind of the future, especially, like, you know, government. Kids our age are going to possibly be, like, ruling the country. Or
You will one day.
Like that. Right, exactly. So I think it's very important for kids to be engaged. And I think it can be discouraging, given that politics kind of have a negative connotation right now in the world. And it sometimes seems very left or right. And it seems hard to speak up about your opinion because you're worried you'll just get, like, kind of slandered by other people. But I think that it's important for kids to realize that it's not that way. You know, if you want to change, you have to be the one to do something about it. Like Michael Jackson says, you know, like the man in the mirror, like, you need to make the change happen yourself. And I think to get kids interested, just kind of reminding them that they have the power to, I don't know, like, start a petition or join some type of group, but they have power with their voice to make a change. It's helpful.
Excellent.
Yeah, I can agree with what Anaya said. I feel like kids, they definitely have, like, their own way with stuff. Like, as a teen myself, you have to come up on it, like, in a certain way so it appeals to their audience. Because, you know, with everything being so short now, I'm not going to watch a whole, like, 10-minute video and, like, actually get information from, you know.
10 minutes is too long.
I'm in the same boat, you know, scrolling on TikTok and stuff. But I feel like if we all, like, collectively got together and, like, find a way to pitch it all, you can definitely draw, like, you know, further voters, further, like, yeah.
Well, there's something to be said for brevity, for sure. And, you know, let's be honest, city council meetings can get a little boring, right? And, you know, some people, they're like, oh, government, like you said, government politics can have a negative connotation. But what has been your favorite part so far?
I guess I would say probably the relationships and the kind of friendships I'm making with the city council members is pretty cool. Some of the people I probably have seen around town like a gazillion times, but, you know, never talked to before.
Right.
And even just being able to be like, oh, yeah, you know, the city manager, like the mayor. Like, everyone's really sweet, like, and welcoming up there. So I think that's been my favorite part, is meeting people and having, like, one of the members always, or during my field hockey season, always knew, like, who we just played and how the game went. So it's just like really
nice.
cool to make those connections. I think that's been my favorite part.
I think my favorite part about this is like, if my mom were to talk about taxes, I just know what she's talking about, you know? So like,
You're like, I get it now, Mom.
yeah. And then also just like, you know, seeing like people of like the community. I didn't know like that many people had like to talk about all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was maybe just like 2 or 3 people, but it's way more than I thought it would be, especially it being super packed right now.
Yeah, I noticed that there's quite a few people up there right now.
Yeah.
So that's good because, like I said, the more input that the council gets, the better informed a decision that they're able to make by hearing from all different groups of people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely come get involved. Come watch a meeting. You can always watch a meeting at home. All the city council meetings are on our YouTube channel. And obviously, yeah, people are welcome to come here into City Hall and participate, or just, you know, they can also sit and observe as well. There's nothing wrong with that. But definitely come, think about coming, getting involved in the process. Now I'm going to ask you a question that we ask all of our guests. What is your favorite thing about Auburn? And it doesn't have to be school related or city council related. Just if you were to tell someone who isn't from here what's so great about Auburn, what would you tell them?
If somebody asked what the best thing about Auburn was, I'd definitely say how people, you know where the Gully is, right? In the Powell Center?
Yep.
So I think it was 2021, 2022. A bunch of like kids, they just get like a little group chat maybe going, and they'd all just come down and just play. And it'd be like that for the whole summer. And
oh, nice.
everybody could just like get along so easily without having like anything going wrong. So the best part about it is everybody just like, they all like love each other, but it's like they can always like not like each other either. You know what I mean?
Like siblings, right?
Yeah. Like love, hate, really.
if you have siblings,
Yeah,
it can be like that.
A good community. I feel like that I would agree with the community part. But on this was more of like a location I had in mind. My favorite thing about Auburn is probably Mount Appetite. My family's like always walked there with our dog, and my mom really loves it there, but it's really pretty there, and I just love walking there in the winter. I recently did a project on it for an English class, a project on places to walk your dog within the Lewiston Auburn community, and that was one of my favorite places on there. I just love it. It's so beautiful, and sometimes when like say that person in the community who you have a love-hate relationship, maybe if they get too much, maybe you can go for a nice little walk. But I think it's interesting that we still have our city that's bustling, but also can still have that bit of nature to get away.
Yeah, that's what we hear from quite a few people. They're like, you can kind of do everything here. You can go out on the lake. You can hike in the woods. You could call it a small mountain. Some people would, depending on where you're from. But you can still come to a downtown area and walk that. We have the River Walk, which is great. You kind of get a little taste of everything. You can get that small town feel, but those bigger city amenities, I guess you would say. That's one of the things that I like about Auburn too.
Yeah.
So having had this experience for a little bit now, I know Anaya a little bit longer than Mubarik, but do you have any interest in politics when you're older? Would you want to be a city council member or run for mayor or anything like that? What do you think?
My cousin, he told me about this. It's speech and debate.
Mm-hmm.
So as growing up, I just loved arguing just for no reason. You know? I argued with my mom all the time about like the most random stuff. So I didn't get to join it this year, but I'd like to just join it and just like get a chance to just argue about like, I don't know. What do they argue about?
It could be anything, depending.
Yeah,
it's kind of like depends on the topic, and then you argue your whatever position I think you're assigned to or feel strongly about.
Yeah, it's like maybe just argue about like, the color of a wall.
Mm-hmm.
I just like want to do that because it just like it relates to me in like a deeper level, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. I think maybe on a local level when I'm older, I don't think that I would want right away a career in government because, like, generally speaking, I am one of those kids who sometimes I'm like, oh, politics. Like on a larger scale, I kind of just like, But I think that maybe when I'm older and I'm more educated on certain matters, I think it'd be really cool to get involved in government wherever I am locally, even if that means like being on like the school committee or like you said, the city council. I think it would be cool to do that because I appreciate like being reached out to and being asked what my opinion is. So I feel like if I were to be offered a leadership position in a local government, that I would try and make sure that everyone's voice was heard. Like, I feel like Auburn does a pretty good job of that.
Great. That's good. So, maybe someday we'll see you on city council or the school board or heck, maybe even the mayor. You never know, right? Depending on, what you think. Anything else you want to share about being a student representative to our city council government?
I feel like some ideas I have for the young people is definitely just get involved. Because I feel like nowadays, kids are just like too scared to like speak up and say something, Because even in school, you can see some kids talking and then sometimes they get a little too rough. And be like the kid in the back doesn't want to say anything. So definitely just like speak up.
I guess on kind of based off of that, it's also helped me a bit with public speaking. I'm not the greatest public speaker, but I think even those small moments at the end when they ask for the student report has helped me become better at publicly speaking and like formulating my words or maybe writing something down earlier. But on that side, that has definitely helped me just being out in public and also I don't know if you can add this in, but a poker face because sometimes obviously everyone has opinions and sometimes I think I've gotten better at reacting more appropriately to certain things that people say because obviously everyone has a different opinion and respecting that is very important, especially in a government setting. So that's something that I think I've learned how to do better.
Yes, having that poker face can be difficult. And trust me, as someone who is older and more seasoned, that is still difficult for me to do sometimes. Thanks for sharing a little bit about what our student representatives do on the city council and for, kind of sharing some advice with young people to get involved. So thank you for joining me, and we appreciate your input and your service on the board.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Absolutely Auburn. You can find all things Auburn, Maine at auburnmaine.gov and goauburn.me. You can also listen to us anytime, anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, just to name a few. The City of Auburn's communications team wants to remind you that Absolutely Auburn is the only official podcast for the City of Auburn, Maine.